Okay, so the West A Street Improvement Project update is now recording, and this will be available on our website most likely tomorrow for anyone who misses it or wants to go and look at it some more. And now I'm going to share the PowerPoint. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint? Mark, can you see the West A PowerPoint here?
Yep.
All right. Great. Okay, Mark, let me just introduce everyone here. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. This again is the West A Street Improvement Project virtual public meeting. I'm Erica Hill. I'll be your moderator this evening, and we have several people here to talk. And we have Assistant Director of Transportation, Thomas Schaefer, Senior Construction Engineer, Mark Rosso, Senior Engineer, Danielle Vackel, Senior Engineering Technician, Galen Mushik, Construction Engineer, Russ Gasper, Engineering Technician, Dylan Larchik, and I think we also have one other person here, Brian. We also have Brian Kramer, and then Brian, you have one other person that you asked to join us, right?
Yes, we have Darren Jack with HDR.
Great, great. Welcome, Darren. Thank you for joining us. So I would like to thank everyone for attending this virtual public meeting. You will get a chance to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So if you could please hold those questions to the end, and then we'll get those answered in the order that they come in. And all you have to do is put those questions in the chat, and then we'll go through the chat, or you can email me your questions directly, and that is erhill@lincoln.ne.gov, and I will put that in the chat too once we get going here. Okay, so on the agenda this evening, we will review progress that's been made since we last spoke with you all. We will be going through upcoming work and what you can expect through the spring and the summer months. And we'll break down Project A's next steps and go over the next steps for Project B. We'll continue to offer additional communication and identify a few ways to stay in touch in between these project updates if you have additional questions. And again, we'll open up the chat for everyone at the end of the presentation. So I'd like to introduce Senior Construction Engineer Mark Rosso. Mark has more than 30 years of experience with the city and in the engineering field he is in, and 5 with the city. He is really a wealth of knowledge, and when it comes to construction planning and of course project delivery, he is joining us to talk about the West A Improvement Project and progress made on Project A specifically. Mark, feel free to take it away.
All right. Thank you, Erica. So we're getting going probably next week we're doing tree removal right now, and then we're going to work on the rest of the project from west of the Coddington intersection there. For those of you joining us the first time, here's a map that shows the entire project from Southwest 5th to Southwest 36th. It's one of the larger projects that we do in Lincoln. So this is, next slide, please, Erica.
Is it going?
We're getting there.
All right.
There it is. So this is the product I'm talking about. Most of us have seen the whole thing, so I'm not going to go into great detail about it. So next slide. This is work completed from Southwest 23rd to US Highway 77, which of course was completed last year. Next slide. There we go. This is the South Coddington Roundabout. We'll have a nice video of this later. It seems to be working pretty well, and I think people have adapted to it quite a bit. So we'll talk about step by step to complete the product A. Next slide. Roll the video. It worked.
Yay!
It's been open since November 29th of last year. Roundabouts, I think as many know, are used to improve safety, increase intersection capacity, and they're very efficient. They also reduce environmental impacts and enhance community values, and are quite a bit lower cost over a traditional intersection because we don't have to change signals out. Next slide. Most of us have seen the new driveway connections. Those turned out pretty well. Next slide. Sidewalks are all complete. I think the trail users in particular really like the wider trail. So that's completed all the way to the Highway 77 bridge. And when it's completed to Southwest 36 will be 9,100 feet of new trail. Next. One of the safety improvements we've added is bus stop cutouts and things like that on the left, so a bus can get out of the way and people can board. The photo on the left is a bus stop at just east of Coddington, and on the right is near Southwest 15th Street. Next. We've got ADA accessible pathways and wheelchair crossings. This is especially good at the ability to cross one direction of traffic at the roundabout to offer increased safety. Next slide. Pavement markings are a thing in Lincoln because our contractor seems to go away and not want to come back to do our pavement markings, but they're all in place. Next slide. Water, wastewater, and stormwater is complete. If you recall, the deep cut, about 25 feet deep for the sanitary sewer. Next. So this is the remaining part. The blue dot indicates that's the Folsom Roundabout where that will go, and we anticipate focusing on asphalt work starting as soon as we can and probably be as early as next week to go. So next. So this is the roundabout, the current situation on the left, and then the future situation on the right. This will be much improved intersection, much safer than a four-way stop. I think most of us have seen this over the course of our lives. This is milling and overlaying, which basically scrape off the surface and put a new asphalt surface down, which usually results in extending the paving life. Next. We've got to finish seeding. Seeding improves erosion control, and once it's established, provides what we think is a nice looking product. So now it's time to talk about product B, and I'll introduce Danielle Bockel. She leads the product design and has quite a bit of updates for us. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you, Mark. So here we're looking at a map, and this is what we call Project B. This segment of West A improvement goes from the west city limits there on the left, which is west of Southwest 36, to a point where we left off on Project A over on the east near Southwest 23rd Street. So we've been pretty busy over the past couple months. The design engineers have been working with homeowners to finalize our right-of-way agreements. We've been hiring contractors and coordinating relocations with utilities. Back when we started the street construction for Project A, we had, you might remember, we had LES relocating their power lines, we had crews installing wastewater pipe, and we had a few utilities that weren't quite even ready to get started. So, I mean, that was all going on while we were trying to reconstruct the street. So for Project B, our plan is that we will be able to complete much of that utility work before we even get started on the street construction. So if you've driven along West A here in the past week or so, you've seen that it's already getting started. Our first step has been tree removals. So there are many large trees, bushes, and big areas that have volunteer growth that we need to get cleared out for our street project. So the crews began cutting down a lot of those trees last week, And right now they're focusing on trees that exist within the right-of-way limits, but they need to be removed now. We can't wait till next year, but we need to remove them now so that the utility work can get started. These tree removals are expected to continue through May. So you may have seen that some of these large trees have been cut down, but the tree trunks are still there. And you might wonder what the heck is going on. So here's the reason. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 was established to protect migratory bird species. So by us going ahead and topping these trees before the April 1st deadline, we are, it's more likely that we do not cut down a tree before a bird can get in there and build a nest. So we want to get ahead of that before the birds come back and start building nests. We want to get those trees cut down. And what we have left are the stumps and these large tree trunks. And so the contractor will then come back after the April 1st deadline and make sure that we can get those tree trunks and stumps removed. With that tree removal in progress, lane closures have been going on and will continue to be necessary for tree removal and other upcoming utility work. So for now, we are allowing the contractor to have short-term daytime lane closures. However, as work continues, you might see total closures over a few blocks at a time. These closures will be communicated with you through message boards and the neighborhood Facebook page. And as always, we ask that you slow down through those construction areas and keep an eye out for our crews. So once we get the trees removed, LES will begin relocating their power lines from their power poles up in the air to underground. Starting next week, LES will begin staking their work areas and mobilizing equipment. Most of LES's work is on the north side of West A, off of the existing roadway. And then, as you can see in this picture, those lower lines belong to Windstream and Spectrum. And since those cables are on LES poles, they will also be bearing their cables so that the poles can be removed. LES is anticipating that their work will take 6 to 9 months. So then that was all on the north side. So on the south side of West A, we have 2 utility projects. First, Black Hills Energy will be relocating a gas main between Southwest 23rd and Southwest 36th. This work will also occur outside of the existing street and is anticipated to take 6 to 8 weeks. The second utility project on the south side of West A is a new wastewater line. Both utility projects are on the south side of the street and both plan to work from east to west. However, we're giving Black Hills Energy a 2 to 3 week head start so that they can be out of the way and for the wastewater project. And I'll tell you more about the wastewater project here in just a bit. Let's see. Right-of-way has been a big effort of something we've been working on over the past few months. Project B had 70 properties that are directly adjacent to the construction area. So some of those properties had land acquisition, temporary construction easements, and utility easements, and several of those properties had all 3 of those things. As of today, we have 3 properties that we still have that we need to sign agreements with. Luckily, none of those properties are impacted by the utility work that we have planned for the next few months. The one more thing that you'll be seeing happening out on West A is the removal of the house on the north side of Southwest 36th Street intersection. Once this land is cleared and the street is constructed, the north leg of the roundabout could be used to connect to potential housing development in the area. Removal of this house will occur in April and should take less than a month to complete. Slide skipped. So now for more information on the wastewater project that I mentioned earlier, I'd like to introduce Brian Kramer. So Brian is the superintendent of wastewater collection with the City of Lincoln Transportability System, and has over 20 years of experience and dedication to the Lincoln community. Brian is here to talk about their plans to install the wastewater lines along Project B. Brian?
Hello, everybody. I've been a silent partner so far in these projects on West A because we've gone in with the paving projects, but on this project, we're going to be separated out and do the majority of our work this year with the paving, I believe, taking place in 23. Our project is, well, just to give you some context about wastewater before I start, there are 1,100 miles of sanitary sewer lines in Lincoln, and we have about 20,000 manholes across the city, and our pipes range from 8-inch to 96-inch in diameter. So it's quite an expansive system. But on this project, if we'll go to the next slide, we are installing sewer, replacing some sewer and installing some new sewer, just right where the paving is going to happen at from Southwest 23rd. Then we'll work our way west towards Southwest 36. And like the slide says there, we're installing about 6,500 feet of sanitary sewer pipe. Previous to this phase 3, we did our phase 1 and 2, and that was done with the paving that occurred east of here. We'll go to the next slide. So primarily what we're installing is 18-inch, and there's some 21-inch sewer, 10-inch, and 15. It's a lot of various sizes on this project. And starting on the east side at the 23rd, we're replacing the sewer that's there today. It is undersized, and when it was built, it was a vitrified clay pipe, and that clay pipe is starting to break apart and is becoming unreliable. So we're installing that with a new product. Could be PVC, might be HDPE. We'll have to see what's available and what our contractor wants to put in for material. And then once we get a little farther to the west, we're going to put new pipe in because we don't have any pipe that runs clear out to Southwest 36th Street. We're installing that so that further development can occur on both sides of A Street. This particular project is currently out to bid. We received the bids back from the contractors next week on the 16th. The project, like the slide says, we estimate to be about 3.2 million, and it is one of the ones listed in our capital improvement program from last year. We'll go to the next slide. Here's our timeline. Like I said, we received bids here March 16th, and then it takes usually about a month or so to get contracts with the contractors. So the earliest we would start would be probably the middle of April. The contractor kind of helps set that schedule based off of work they're doing and the coordination with Black Hills, that's also on the south side of the street. And they'll probably work all summer long, clear up into the fall before they get the job done. And we probably will start on the east side and move to the west. That's the logical way to put sanitary sewer in. You put it on the most downhill side first and kind of work your way uphill as it lays underground. And there's my contact information and Darren Jack with HDR who helped design the project. And all of our construction should be confined inside of the right-of-way of the street, including the new right-of-way that's been recently acquired. And that's the end of what I have to say.
Back to me, I think. All right, so this is a recent picture that Erica took along West A. And, you know, right now we just kind of point out that what you see is the two-lane street with a very narrow shoulder. It's got open ditches. There's no sidewalk. You see the power lines on the left side, which is what LES is going to be working on soon. You see the trees overhanging on the right. And we know that, you know, this whole process has been taking a while, but we hope that you see the progress that we've made. And soon, this section of West A will have storm inlets, safer intersections, and paved sidewalks. And, you know, we've learned a few things. And, you know, this time for Project B, we're dedicating more time to the utility relocation and keeping that work separate from the street work. We've increased our communication, I feel like, with you by holding more of these meetings, and we will continue to do that and post frequent updates throughout the construction of Project B. So what you really want to know is, when will all of this be over? So Mark has explained the work that remains to be done on Project A, and all of that should be completed by this summer. And then for Project B, we'll be completing the tree removals, the LES relocation, the gas work, and the sewer construction in 2022. And then having all of that work completed will allow us to hire a paving contractor later this fall to complete the street construction by the end of 2023. You know, we want to stay in communication throughout this project. So we've already got our next little virtual public meeting scheduled, planned at least for September of 2022. For additional information on, you know, all of these projects, you can go to lincoln.ne.gov/westa. And of course, like we mentioned, smaller updates and for lane closures and other changes will be continued to be posted on the West A Neighborhood Association Facebook page. So we've made a lot of progress. Combined, this is a really large project, and it's one of the largest projects that Lincoln has done in the past 10 years. Once completed, the new street will have a sidewalk that will offer a safer sidewalk in streets that will offer a safer commute as you drive, you walk, or ride your bike along West A. So please, you know, when the weather gets nice, please get out and try out that new bike path that we've already constructed further east. So thank you for joining us. This concludes our formal presentation, and I'll turn this back to Erica.
All right, thanks, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
And then just one more time. So now it is time for questions. You can write your question in the chat box on Zoom. And you can also email them to me at erhill@lincoln.ne.gov. And so let's see, let's go to our chat first. Starting, I have one question. Are you having any problems getting materials for this project? This question was posted when Brian was talking, so maybe we answer if Brian is having material issues, and then we can talk about if the entire West A project is struggling with anything like that.
Sure. I do have concern about acquiring materials. This is the first large project that wastewater has bid out this year. So I'm going to be really curious how that turns out. We actually have an alternate in the project because we could get by with a 21-inch diameter pipe for part of this project, but we've been told that that's really limited in materials. So we said they could use a 24-inch instead. So it might be a choice of changing pipe sizes in order to get the materials that we need. I'll have a better answer for that after once the bid comes in and I see what the contractors have selected to put in.
And then for the rest of the West A project, is anyone seeing material challenges for some of those other items?
I think I've heard some of the utility guys maybe having to just maybe pre-order some stuff or or use some of the wire maybe that they were planning to use on a different project next year and using it now and hoping to get their other stuff later. I think they're working on different things like that, but yeah, it'll continue to be an issue, I think.
All right, and then let's see. Okay, why was the clearance on the sides of the bikeway to obstructions such as the retaining wall on the southwest side of the Coddington and West Day Roundabout designed and built at 1 foot when federal guideline is 2 feet? Let me know if you want me to try to read that again.
I guess I would have to look at that more specifically. You know, I think I would say that the you know, the city city code says that the obstruction shall be 2 feet away from sidewalk. You know, if you're constructing something next to a building, I think there are restrictions that maybe can't be maintained. So I think it's kind of a case by case situation. You know, each location would be different, but we would definitely look at each one.
Great, thanks. Will the implementation of new sewer and gas lines require any disruption of existing service in the area?
I'll speak to the sanitary sewer lines. For most people, you will not notice any disruption. There's a few houses that sit directly on 8th Street. That's where their driveways are, and that's probably where their service line are. Those houses will have some minor disruptions of short duration, maybe a day where you're asked to not use very much water, but you'll still be able to use a little bit of water. It just ends up falling into the trench instead of the pipe. So very minor disruptions for that.
Thanks. Next question, how many lanes will there be between Coddington and Southwest 36th Street?
There will be 1 lane in each direction. So 1 eastbound, 1 westbound lane.
Thank you. Next question, why can't there be a southbound turn lane to the Southwest 30th neighborhood like there is at the Timer Ridge Road? Is it Timber? Are they meaning Timber?
Yeah, probably.
Timber Ridge Road neighborhood. Every other neighborhood on the south side of A has either a turn lane or roundabout.
It's just a matter of us following our access management policy. I think we've talked about this several times, and one of the reasons that Timber Ridge does have that median break was to allow bus circulation throughout the neighborhood so that the StarTran can get into the neighborhood and then come out, I think, on Southwest 36th. But, you know, we have guidelines that we choose to follow, you know, throughout the entire city, and we don't allow median breaks at every block. And so we've had to determine which blocks and the distances between those intersections, and the roundabouts allow people to, you know, turn right, go to the next roundabout and make a U-turn and then head back west if that's the direction that they are intending to go. So it's safer for us to not allow turns at every intersection and have those solid medians that help control some of those left turn movements.
All right, thanks. Next question is, will there be turn lanes?
I guess everywhere, is that the question? We're really not building turn lanes just because we don't allow a lot of left turns. So, you know, you use your roundabouts to make that U-turn, but there would be very few right turn lanes. I believe on the north side, there could be a future development, and that's up to kind of a planning department as to whether or not they require those developers to construct right turn lanes. But our plans from Southwest 36th to Southwest 23rd do not include specific turn lanes.
It's not that we're prohibiting turns. It's a roundabout. One of the advantages of a roundabout is turn lanes, and that extra pavement is not needed because of the roundabout design.
Next question is, what does the project that is starting next week at Folsom and West A look like?
Have you got a map of that, Danielle?
Well, that was slide 8-ish, 11, something like that.
Did it have the detailed, it had the detailed roundabout, didn't it?
Yep.
Let's see. Somewhere back here. Oh,
Keep going. No, it was part of Mark's slides.
there it is.
And then next one.
I kind of get, okay. Am I close? Here it is,
There you
right?
go. That
Okay.
one. Mhm. So that project will basically change that four-way stop intersection to a smaller roundabout. I assume the question is, what will it look like? What will the street look like? I'm reading the question again.
It says, what does the project that is starting next week at Folsom and A look like?
Yeah, okay. So they won't be tearing out the entire intersection. They're going to be cutting out sections from the pavement and then reconstructing, kind of modifying the intersection to make it be a roundabout. So they'll be not tearing it out completely down to the dirt, but they will be cutting out sections, putting in the raised roundabout medians and that center island, and then doing some restriping. And I think they are moving some of the outside corners out a little bit, and then they will come back and they will mill and overlay with asphalt through that area. So it will be changed from this four-way stop to a smaller roundabout. And it'll be quite a bit different than the one that's at Coddington. That one has a grass median. This one is more of a raised median. And so some of the trucks that need to go through this intersection would basically travel over that center area. So that's what it'll look like.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, are you going to lower A Street on the west end of Southwest 36th?
Yes. So if you are ever headed, I guess, westbound, there's quite a hill west of Southwest 36th. So if you are on, Southwest 36 trying to turn onto West A, it's a sight distance problem. You feel uncomfortable because you can't see far enough to see if a car is coming. So yeah, we're cutting about 4 or 5 feet out of that hill so that you won't have to worry about pulling out in front of a car that's coming. The other thing that we're doing is the roundabout that we're installing there at Southwest 36 will force some of that traffic that's eastbound to slow down for that to maneuver through that roundabout. I don't know, my kids always say some of those things you turn and burn, kind of like an airplane. You turn onto West A and you gun it so that you don't get rear-ended. A lot of that will be eliminated due to cutting out the hill, increasing the sight distance, and then the installation of that roundabout.
I gotta bring that saying back to my family, the turn and burn. That's funny.
Turn and burn.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a safe maneuver for anybody to want to do. So anytime that we can increase the sight distance and prevent that, that's always good.
Next question is, will we be notified when we need to have our temporary fence in our backyard as part of the easement?
Yeah, that's one reason The tree removals that we're doing are only within the old right-of-way. I know there's a lot of you where we have purchased right-of-way, and some of those trees we've had to have taken out. But I know there's at least one or two properties that have significant fences that we just did not want you to have to move and maintain a temporary fence location for the tree removals, and then again for next year's construction. So for the most part, we're staying out of those areas. And then yes, you will be notified when we do need to get into that temporary easement and your fences need to be moved. But most of that won't even happen until winter earliest or spring of 2023. So you should be good for most of this year.
Will you plant trees along the roadway when completed?
This project does not include trees, and I can't guarantee that a future parks budget wouldn't come in and plant some, but that's not part of this current project.
Is West A at 36th Street and West going to be cut down to cut the hill down? Oh,
Yeah.
we might just.
Yeah, that's the same question we answered.
Great.
Yep,
Great.
that's fine.
How will mail delivery and trash collection be affected?
Honestly, we should let the people who live in the section between Coddington and Southwest 15th answer that. The truth is that the post office and the garbage services are used to dealing with a lot of construction. They work well with us in communication. If it's difficult, sometimes the post office will install kind of a cluster mailbox outside of the project that you would then go to get your mail. I don't know, Galen, do you want to expand on that? You deal a lot with the day-to-day construction stuff.
Usually there's not any problems with it. If there is, they do get a hold of us, but usually they're very cooperative with homeowners in making sure that they get around with detours and still managing a way to get access. If there is any need, we will allow them to come through the construction zone and maintain some kind of access point for them. But otherwise, like you said, Daniil, they work very well with us during construction and usually, provide keep in good communication and find some way to keep business flowing. So
Great. Next thing, this is more of a comment. It says, no question, but gotta say that roundabout at South Coddington and West A is amazing. That's nice. I think we've only had to come to a complete stop 3 times since it's been done, and we drive on it every day. The flow is great. Well, that's nice.
Thank you.
Next question is, will we be notified when to remove our fence for any utility work?
So, is this person on the north side or the south side? I'm not so sure. But yeah, I mean, you're always going to be notified. We know that there are properties with dogs and kids and reasons why you have fences. So, yeah, you will always be notified prior to work starting.
Great. Will there be times when between West A and Coddington, will it be closed? Will there be times when West A and Coddington will be closed or between those areas?
I don't know how you can be between those areas, so I'm just going to say that Coddington going north-south, I think we're done other than the seating. So I think that should be remained open. Same with the rest of A Street or West A that's complete. Again, seating will need to be done, but otherwise we should be good. We're keeping an eye on this summer as LES is on the north side and the sewer and the Gas is on the south side. If it seems like we're getting pinched down with construction work on both sides, we might consider closing sections of West A at a time. We're just going to have to play that by ear. And then there is that closure out east by Folsom that will be happening next week.
Yeah, and we just sent a news release to all the media related to that closure as well. So I'll remind myself to post that on the West Day Facebook page tomorrow.
Good.
Erica, I'd like to add there with the sanitary sewer work, there will be some lane closures periodically as that work occurs.
Okay. All right. Is LES going to bury the power to Southwest 40th Street or just to the city limits?
I don't know. I think it's all the way to Southwest 40th, but then the minute I say it, I'm wrong. So I think it's all the way to Southwest 40th. I'd have to look that up.
Is there going to be any work around the VFW on West A?
So yeah, that'll be part of the whole widening section. The VFW will get a new driveway as part of the widening project. So that will all be included through there. Yep.
This might be more of a comment. With the issues with supplies, you will never go below guidelines needed for upgrade, correct? You will go bigger so it doesn't need redone sooner than later in the future. You won't just use what bidder's choice is on bid. So
Erica, I think that came from what I talked about.
Okay.
Correct. There's a minimum set dimension that our pipe needs to be. So we'll never go lower than that. We could potentially go bigger, which just helps out in the future, but we will not go below our minimum standards.
Great. How long will West A and Folsom intersection be closed?
That's a good question. And the answer to that is oftentimes not as good as the question, but I'll give it a shot. I'm expecting, my personal opinion, is about 90 days at the most.
Is there any potential for expanding to 2 lanes each direction if West Lincoln continues to grow?
So part of our engineering study when we first started this project was to look at traffic, look at the development, the potential of developments out on West A. You know, it was some open farmland and you can expect that it would develop. So our traffic engineers took a look at that. And they still believe that even if that were to develop, that 1 lane in each direction along West A, given the roundabouts and the traffic control measures we're taking, will be adequate.
And then kind of going related to that, any tips or rumors on potential new developments, residential or commercial, in the areas along Project B?
I don't think so. You know, we hear different things of you know, affordable housing has always been a big thing, or some apartment complexes, or, you know, like I said, the smaller single family homes. I haven't heard any great rumors of any Cheesecake Factory or any sort of those desirable restaurants that everybody seems to want. So nothing too exciting that I've heard.
Will you be burying LES lines all the way to Southwest 40th?
Yeah, that's that same question that I think Bill asked. We can look that up. I'll look at LES's plans. We're walking the project next Tuesday. They're putting their stakes out so that identifying their route for their new line. We'll look that up. I can send out a message and answer that.
And then we just asked this, what is the time frame at Folsom? It was up to 90 days. Why not a 3rd lane out west? A, have you done a check of traffic. It has increased. It makes more sense to do it now.
By third lane, I assume you're talking about that center turn lane. You know, center turn lanes are not always safer. You know, it might help your left turn and give somebody a place to hang out while they wait for the gap. But that's also what the point is for the roundabouts, to be able to make that U-turn and come back and then turn right into a neighborhood. So, you know, that third lane that you're talking about doesn't help with vehicles who slow down to turn right. It's just a place for left turns, and we've accommodated that by installing those U-turns, roundabouts.
When is construction for the new apartment complex at Southwest 25th and West B going to start? Any idea?
I did actually talk to a contractor this week who said that they put in a bid and was curious if there was going to be lane closures on West A that would facilitate them moving in and out dirt for that project. But that's truly all I know about that project. So it must be starting to move if I had a contractor ask me that question.
How many roundabouts left to build and locations? When will they be built?
Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about what project B is going to look like, because I feel like we've talked about that a lot in the past 5 years. There is a really good map on the West A Facebook page that shows those, the West A cities project page that shows what exactly is getting built. But let me rattle off: roundabouts, intersections will be reconstructed at Southwest 36th, Southwest 30th, it's 30th or 31st, I can't ever remember. One at Southwest 27th and one at Southwest 24th. But please look at the map on the website, and it'll show you exactly where those are.
Will they be putting a flashing red stoplight on the south side of Southwest 40th and A Street intersection based on the increase of traffic? There is already a flashing light on the north side.
That intersection is outside of the city limits, and so that would be a question or concern that you could send to the county. I don't know the answer, and I don't think we have much influence on what the county decides to do there.
When will the crosswalk strobes be installed at the Coddington West A roundabout? It says cars are having difficulty stopping for pedestrians so far, from what this person notices.
Yeah, that's definitely something we have talked about throughout this project, that we wanted to give some time for that roundabout to get going and for people to be using it. And then we promised we would do some observations on how pedestrians are working or not working throughout that intersection. So I appreciate that feedback, because I really haven't seen any data or heard complaints about that. And we don't know what we don't know. So like I said, I appreciate that comment.
Okay, realistically, those of us on the south side of West A are looking at about 2 years of no access to the neighborhood short of West South Street. Is that correct? Or is that what you're kind of thinking?
I don't know how to answer that other than, you know, again, this year, we're not sure what we're going to need to do for street closures. For next year, we're not looking at, you know, an entire street closure, you know, all the way from Coddington out to Southwest 40th at once. We would do smaller sections. There might be times when you need to go south on Coddington and then come back up through your neighborhood and then travel west. You know, maybe we might close Coddington to Southwest 27th at one time, and then we might jump from 27th to 36th. So we're just really going to have to see where we're working and what part of the streets are open.
Is there a plan to resurface A Street farther east after this project is done?
farther east, probably you're saying between the east edge of the project and maybe like 3rd and A or something like that. I am not aware of that project. Thomas, do you know?
Well, we do not have anything in that particular area, but maybe if they're thinking about between 6th and 17th, Danielle, if they're traveling
true.
in, we do
That's
have a
true.
federal aid project that's being programmed. I'd like to take this time to encourage you all to go to lincoln.ne.gov. And on there, you can type in projects. It'll bring up a map. Now, you need to look at what year is checked, and you want to check out some of those future years and check beyond 22 into 23, 4, 5. And you can see some of the work that we have planned on A Street across the city.
Yeah, so as Thomas reminds me that that's actually a project that's mine, the A Street from 6th to 17th. We are hiring consultants currently, and that, as Thomas said, is a federal aid project that we will be starting shortly.
And this person jumped on late. They just had a quick question. How will access to Timber Ridge Road be routed?
I would have to look at a map exactly. You know, we're never gonna not give you a route to get to your neighborhood. And at this exact moment, I can't say exactly which way it would go. You know, if we need to have the contractor build one side of the road and then the other, that was how we were able to allow access to people whose homes were on West A, directly east of Coddington. If we need you to come from the east or come from the west or something, we will communicate that to you. But we will never not give you a way in or out. And it's the same with fire or any other sort of emergency services. I mean, you'll always get in and out one way. It'll just depend on what the contractor is doing at that time.
Will the roundabout at Southwest 36 be as large as the one at Coddington?
I don't think so. I don't know the exact dimensions, but that was, it's more of a connection of 2 arterials. And then the roundabouts that are further west, you know, like I said, at 27th and 30th and 36th, those are smaller roundabouts.
Is there going to be a new culvert at 24th and West A?
Yeah, it's either a culvert or a concrete box structure. Yeah.
Great. And I just click on this one. Last question is, my concern is Folsom and West A and bus service. Worried that southbound cannot handle the traffic with the bus service. So it looks like they emailed this question, so we can respond to that. But I think you know, we have Dave who handles a lot of the bus detours, and I'm sure he'll figure out a bus detour, and then we'll post it on the startran.lincoln.ne.gov website. And we keep those detours on the website all the time. So they can go there, or if anyone else has questions, they can go there related to bus information as well. Does anyone else have any more questions? Bill said, on behalf of the West Day Neighborhood Association, we would like to thank you all for the update. Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
So again, we'll be meeting back here virtually sometime in September. We don't have a date yet, but we'll have to look at our schedules and get that on the calendar. And we do appreciate everyone's time to, you know, listen to all the updates and all that good stuff. So anyway, other than that, we'll let you guys get back to your evenings, and we again appreciate your time. Have a good night.